Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's Elephant Professional Lecture. It's a double professional lecture, but they may end up disappearing out because they are up in the mountains of Laos. We have Annabel Lopez Perez and Michael Falshaw. One of the things we're often asked when we're talking about captive elephants and how we work with them and what we can do with them and what the problems may be is why can't we just release them back into the wild? Now, almost everywhere that there are elephants, well, actually everywhere that there are elephants, there are a mountain of problems such as or legal obstacles and financial obstacles and all sorts of other obstacles to this. Which hi, Leo.
Hi.
Sorry, Leo's here as well. Which make life difficult. But one of the questions that hasn't really also ever been answered is it actually possible for an elephant that has grown up with people, has lived with people all its life, to go back and live in the wild? Does it have the skills? Can it interact with other wild elephants? All of these other questions are very, very high on biologists' lists. And there have been attempts to release elephants into the wild, particularly the Elephant Reintroduction Foundation in Thailand, who actually, the boss of which called me by coincidence, called me this morning to give me an update on an elephant that we released and talk about some work we may do together in future. But also, most recently in Laos, from a place called the Elephant Conservation Center, a great tourist place for elephants and also scientific research center and all of these other things, which I've been lucky enough to be with a couple of times, or go to a couple of times. And the project that they have has already released elephants into a national protected area in Laos and is continuing to monitor them. And our expert today, as I said, we have two experts, but Annabel will give a scientific lecture next. And Annabel was in charge, I think, of the initial socialization to see which groups have worked well together, and is also doing some of the deep scientific work. And our expert for this lecture is Michael Falshaw, who is monitoring them in the forest, runs up and down mountains and finds them every day, or at least he was last time we spoke about this about a year and a half ago. And he's going to give us an update on how this work is going. Because they're in Laos, I'll be running a video of his presentation, but since we have him live, we may as well go straight over to Michael to say a few words now, and we can go from there. So, Michael, Annabel, welcome.
Hi, thanks a lot, John. Cheers. Yeah, hello everyone on Facebook, and thank you, John, for letting me do this lecture. We've recorded the lecture beforehand because I wasn't really sure about my internet connection, which is holding up quite well at the moment, but has been on and off all day. So yeah, I'll just introduce myself. I've been working here in Laos for about 4 years. I'm the conservation project manager for the Elephant Conservation Center, and I'm the coordinator of this release project. The release started in March 2019, after the many years of Annabel's work, socializing elephants together and getting socially coherent groups of elephants together. We finally had this one group that we thought we had a good chance of trying. So we did some initial tests, both at the conservation center, the concession we have there, and then we moved it to the protected area. So yeah, now 18, 19 months in, the project is going pretty well. The elephants are together all the time. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy the talk I do today.
Hi, John. By the way, I cannot hear anything from the video.
Is that better?
Still cannot hear
I cannot
anything.
hear as well.
Okay, sorry everybody. It seems to be a technical hitch here. I can hear the video. You saw the change in picture, though, did you?
Still cannot hear
I cannot
anything.
hear as well.
Oh dear. Okay, sorry everybody. It seems to be a technical. I can hear the video. You saw the change in picture. Let me try again and let me see what happens. If not, Michael, you'll have to talk us through it. Can you do that?
I think since we have Michael here, and it's pretty good. Oh,
Michael seems to have frozen. Sorry about this, everybody out there in the real world. That's strange because I can hear it very well on my machine. Maybe if I stop sharing and try again. We've lost Michael totally now as well, which is the worst thing. Here we go. No, that's you. Okay. Okay, Michael, you're back. Michael, can you, if we haven't got audio, can you talk us through this? You have to unmute yourself there.
Hello,
I think, John, this is just a picture mic from,
Sorry, man. Yeah, my internet just cut out. There's a problem with the audio, do you say?
Yes, it's playing on my computer only. Let me try again. But if not, can you talk us through it?
Of course. Yeah. I can try my best. But yeah, I think the internet will cut in and out for me.
Okay, let's see what we can do. I'll start it running, and if you can't hear the audio again, Michael, I'm afraid you're going to have to talk in. Okay. Can you hear that? No.
no.
Okay, Michael,
No.
you're talking.
Okay, 1 second. So, all right, 1 second. I'll have to grab.
Pause. Very sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. It worked when I tested it, and I can hear the video audio perfectly in my computer. But that's no. And I could try and repeat everything Michael says, but I think that you don't want to hear my voice. Okay, Michael, let me know when you'd like to start, and then we'll keep it running.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just having some problems myself here.
Let me just try something else. See if I can get this to run.
Elephants in Laos. And then I can hear it now.
Okay.
Now I can hear it, John.
Organization. What our core projects are, what makes the difference, I think. Wow. Then I'll talk about Pouy National Protected Area, which is the release site for our elephants, an area that we have other projects into. Then I'll talk about the pre-release, what's the steps that need to take place at the ECC in order to feel confident enough to go forward with this release. I'll then talk about the release both in its early stage, the first couple of months, its current state, and then I will talk about the future and what we hope for the project. So, elephants in Laos. Laos was formerly known as Nam Sang, which is the land of 1 million elephants. But you can see here in the last 30 so years, that both wild populations and the
You saw the change in picture, did you?
declined rapidly.
Still cannot hear anything here as well.
88.
Okay, sorry, everybody seems to be
now about 300 to 400. Captivity, there was about 1,500 in the 1980s, and now we're at 400 wild populations. So yeah, big drop off in both wild and captive. So what could be the problem for the wild population? These problems are not specific to Laos. These are the problems for Asian elephants across the range. But they are deforestation, loss of habitat fragmentation. That's one big piece of forest being split into smaller areas. Human-elephant conflict and poaching. Then for captive elephants, this is specifically for Laos. I'm not sure about the rest of the region, but while logging was still legal activity in the country, there was a real lack of incentive for the roots elephant keepers to get their elephant pregnant, because it meant they were out of work for 3 to 4 years, something like this. So yeah, there was a real lack of incentive for elephants to get pregnant at this time. Also, there has been some exports and long-term rent or leases of elephants from Laos to other countries. So yeah, this hasn't helped either. So the Elephant Conservation Centre set up as a way to try to sustainably finance conservation projects in the country. It was set up in 2011. We have 2 elephants and 6 members of staff. Now in 2020, we take care of 34 elephants across the province, 70 staff, and before coronavirus hit, we had roughly 3,000 guests every year in the last couple of years. Those guests are really important because they provide about 90-95% of the income for the centre. Not only is the centre group and staff and elephants, but the actual forest too. We have 100 hectares of forest for the elephants to live in. Now we have 500 here. Yeah, we're a lot bigger now. So I'll talk now a bit about the core projects of the ECC, what sets us apart of the organization.
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt again. On Facebook, it's not easy to hear, so I think it's not clear for our followers to listen from the video record.
Not only the 34 that look after, but any elephants.
Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Well, we've lost Mike again, so I don't know what we do from here then. Can we just we'll keep running the video. We haven't really got much of a choice, I think. We'll run the video, and hopefully Mike will be back to answer questions, or Annabelle can answer questions later. I'm sorry about this, everybody. It was an experiment. I thought it might look better than this, but let's continue, and at least you get the videos, and we go from there.
Okay.
We have our breeding program to try to increase the population of elephants in the country. This is helped by the Australian embassy here in Laos, financially and technically by the Smithsonian Institute in America. It's helped us set up the only endocrinology lab specifically for wildlife in the country. So behavioral research is another core of the centre. This is to help better understand the needs of elephants and to be trying to constantly improve management techniques of human care. Now, socialization, which is I'll talk a bit about later on in the pre-release section, but I'm sure lots of you know elephants are very social animals. So here at the Elephant Conservation Centre, I think it's a necessity to set up, facilitate social time, both for male and for female elephants. So this project here is really the foundation, not only of this release that I'll talk about, but probably for releases across the region in years to come. Annabelle, who is the biologist here, the protocols will be put into the IUCN Asian Elephant Specialist Group guidelines for the release of capital. So yeah, probably see more releases of this. So more recently, protected area management. The Pouy National Protected Area, the project where the release site is. We've been providing financial and technical support for this park, some capacity for the last 2 years, but mainly this year more formally, as we've been providing salaries for 2 full-time ranger teams to enforce the law in the park. So you can see here some of the confiscations from one of the patrols. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, I'll talk about the release. I'll firstly talk about what was needed at the ECC, what were the pre-release stages. Yeah, and then I will talk about the first 3 months, then the current state. So pre-release, what were the tools that we used to help this release push forward? There was the socialization that I talked about earlier. This is really, as well as providing you know, a great standard of welfare for elephants to facilitate some social time for them to express natural behavior. It's also a tool for us to identify social elephants, and I guess to identify socially coherent groups of elephants that would be viable for release. So for me, yeah, this socialization is rather the ultimate goal for elephants in captivity, or if these elephants are viable for release, it is the start of a wider process to release them. So during this socialization time, we noticed a pretty strong bond forming between 4 female elephants and 1 juvenile male here. They, as well as forming bonds with the juvenile male, they were forming bonds with each other, from what seemed like a mutual desire to look after the young male. So once we started to notice this, we decided to focus more energy onto it and try to push this release a little bit with this group. So we did some research at the center. We took these elephants, what we call day release, where we took them to a different area of our concession, one that they wouldn't be too familiar with, outside any enclosures. And we just let them go. We just released them and we just observed from a distance that allowed the mahouts and the biologists to be able to observe what they were doing far away enough that we weren't disturbing them, but close enough that the mahouts could intervene if they did decide to go to a plantation or something like this. So it was over this next couple of weeks of doing this every day that we decided that we probably had a chance. So we decided to speak with the government about the feasibility of trying a release. They came back to us to give us a 3-month permission and said, okay, you can try it, but only during this 3 months. If this 3 months is considered successful, then we can extend for longer periods of time. So to talk about what defines success for the government. In this area, Pouy National Protected Area, there is a 55-kilometer border with Thailand. There is also some military camps through a road cutting through the middle. And then there is obviously villages along the other side with lots of plantations and so on. So success means that they don't disturb the military, probably most importantly, that they don't disturb the villages and that they don't border hop over to Thailand. So in order to, what could we do to, to make this project a success, is find the perfect mahouts, the mahouts that have pretty specific skills to give us the best chance of success. And for us, these skills are experience tracking elephants previously, fantastic spatial awareness where, you know, you can understand where you are and how far away you are from plantations, from the border, from these military camps. Obviously, to have this, you need to be familiar with the release site, which all the mahouts that were chosen were. They're from this area. You also have to have a deep understanding of what it is to be a mahout. And for me, that is not just being able to handle an elephant. It is coupled with the forest. For me, a mahout is just as much about the forest as it is an elephant. I know it's not true everywhere, but for me in Laos it is. And all of these guys, they know the forest as well as they know elephants. And I think this is part of the reason this project was seen as a success. So you can see here, this is the release site. I'll talk a little bit about it now. I'm very sorry about my mapping skills. If there's any GIS specialist in here, please forgive me, I'm learning. But you can see Laos and Sayaburi province here, marked in black, and then the protected area. So all this white here is Thailand. So this is the border I was talking about. And along this road here are some of the military camps. This yellow circle here is the homing range of our released elephants. So this 18,000 hectares is where they have been for the last 18 months, although they spend about 80% of their time in 10,000 hectares here. So why did we choose this area? It is the natural habitat of elephants. It has some wild elephants as well. I will talk about them in a moment. It used to have a much higher concentration of elephants, so we know it has a large carrying capacity. It's a huge area, 1,920 square kilometers. Some other logistical reasons where all the mahouts are from this area here, Tongmi Sai district. We also, the Elephant Conservation Center is in Sayaburi province too. So we already have a good relationship with the provincial government, which made this a lot easier. And it's very close, it's 2 hours away. So all of this together made us choose Pouy for this site. The wild elephants in Pouy have followed the trend of the country. So in 2009, there was 100 elephants in Pouy, and now it's about half of that in 2020. In 2005, Pouy was noted as a top priority for conservation of elephants in the country, but that hasn't really translated into any sort of long-term formal management plan or any long-term funding. You know, it's still deeply underfunded. There are some organizations apart from us working in the area. In the past, WWF have took some camera trap data. ASEAN Center for Biodiversity are stepping in to try to change what I say there. They are trying to make a more long-term formal management plan for this park, which will be very welcomed. Yeah, and GIZ also working some land use planning for this year and next year. So things are looking good for the park in this regard. So here we have the first 3 months. I'll show you this little clip here. So you can see our elephants here and then one here. So during the first 3 months of this project, we stayed in the forest the whole 3 months. We just left to get some food, but we set up a little base camp in the forest. Myself, a biologist, and the mahouts. And we just went every morning to track where the elephants were. We marked it on a GPS, took some behavioral notes for a couple of hours, and then came back to the camp. During this 3 months, they never left the forest. They stayed together. There was no human-elephant conflict. So the project was seen as a success. And we were granted a bit more time, another 3 months, and then another 6 months. And then the current state is we have permission till the end of 2021 to keep the elephants in the forest. The mahouts, they go to track the elephants 4 times a week. So they've been trained to handle GPS devices. And whenever they find the elephants, they just mark where they are on a GPS. And we take a health check once a month. So vet assistance, he goes to check the elephants, just make sure that they're nice and healthy. If there's any problems, we can try to fix. So I'll talk about some positive results from this release to date. All the elephants that are part of the release are together all the time. They have a very close bond. And yeah, it's very interesting to see they're always together. They've had some interactions with some wild males, which has resulted in possibly pregnancy. There's been no human-elephant conflict outside of the park, although Dokkum 1, the juvenile male, he did find a illegal logging camp and he destroyed all of the logging gear. So yeah, I think he's trying to get a job as a ranger or something like this, but yeah, no real human-elephant conflict. All very healthy. All the elephants have had no injuries and no weight loss or anything like this. All the mahouts part of the project are very motivated. They're enjoying this role, and other mahouts from the area have expressed interest in joining rather this project or another project similar. We have the full support of the government, which I guess is most important. Yeah, without them, we can't really run this project. We need the permission to do so. One negative, so I talked here about 5 elephants at the start. Now it's 4. We were working with a very knowledgeable mahout who have been working with the center for many years, but the difference was he owned the elephants, so we were renting the elephants from him. So it wasn't the best idea for him to join the project, as we didn't own the elephants, or the government didn't own it, so we didn't really have a say. But he decided to leave after 1 year. We still have a very good relationship with him. We don't really understand why he left, but the elephant is owned not just by him, but by several families in the area. So we think there was some pressure from the other families to try to find something more profitable to do with the elephants. Even though he makes a decent wage, you know, I'm not sure what he was looking to do, but yeah, he left. So yeah, don't work with elephants unless you own them, or the government owns them, and you know you have an agreement with them to pursue this project. So for me, the future of this project, what is the goals? The main goal is for these 4 now elephants to have permission forever to be in the park, not just another year, another 2 years or something like this, but to have permission to be released for good, for them to be taken off the captive elephants database and be seen as wild elephants. And at this point then the release is finished, I guess. Now it's still in a soft release stage, and we're sort of in cruise control at the moment because you know everything's going very well, but we can't move any further until we have permission forever to release them. Some smaller things that would be great to get out of this project. For me, I really want to keep this traditional mahout knowledge of elephants and forest being together. I think this is important culturally for Lao people, and I'd like it to be a good financial decision for guys to learn these skills. I think it should be, you should be able to feed your family or support your family off this knowledge. It's very, it's very cool. So ecotourism in the park as well. Maybe not necessarily with these released elephants, but I would love to set up some ecotourism for this protected area to help sustainably finance the park. A higher concentration of rangers in the park to protect both these released elephants and the wild ones. Some more formal conservation strategies and wildlife research going into the park would be great also. And then if in a few years we consider this release a complete success, then to take those protocols and maybe release elephants into areas that don't have them anymore. Yeah, so for me, these would be some great outcomes too. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. My email address is just here at the bottom, michael.s.falshaw@gmail.com. If you have any questions, hopefully I'll be joining you on the 21st to answer any live, but yeah, feel free to send me an email also. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, John, for letting me do this talk. Yeah, thank you very much. See you soon.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Michael. Can you hear me properly now? Apologies, everyone, to the problems we had with the sound. As I say, this was a bit experimental to begin with. I will put that full video up on YouTube as well, so people can listen to that a little bit later on. But for now, are there any questions? Oh, first of all, I guess, Mike, is there anything you'd like to add to that you didn't say on the video that you'd like to add from your experience in the last week or two, or anything along those lines?
No, I think everything like that is fine. I think we were a bit confused. I've been in the forest, but not for the release. I've been on a ranger patrol. So when I was telling you I was in and out of the forest, it wasn't to look for those elephants. It was for it was following the ranger teams. So yeah, now that this project, like I say, is in cruise control a little bit, I go down maybe once a month to collect the GPS data. Our vet assistant, who you know well, goes down twice a month to keep the relationship with the mahout and stuff like this and make sure everything is okay with them. But yeah, I think there's nothing else to add.
Okay, so now even however many months in, the mahouts remain in the forest in the base camp and are checking the elephants every day or every 2 days?
4 times a week. 4 times a week, and they can just go. They can drive their bike into the forest, find the elephant, and come back out in one day. Most of the time, you know, sometimes they take a bag with some stuff just in case they need to sleep in the forest. But it was just that first initial 3 months that we spent every day in the forest. We made a camp and we went to see them every day. After that, we were a bit more confident in them, you know, the mahout's ability to know where they are at all times. So we took it to 4 times a week, and we're keeping it at that for now.
Okay, great. Oh, do you have any questions on Facebook? Or from the Zoom, if Lucy's here, if she wants to ask some questions.
To unmute myself first.
Yeah.
So first one, how much are the monthly salaries for those mahouts who work for you, like in US dollars?
I guess it's about $220 US, 2 million kip in Lao currency, but about $220 US, plus some expenses, some food and petrol and stuff like this.
Do you check on the elephant who was taken back by the owner?
No, like I say, we really have no power over this elephant. You know, it's privately owned. He and the people who own it can do whatever they want with it. You know, all we could do was try to persuade him to stay, and unfortunately we couldn't. So, yeah.
That's a policy I agree with. People always ask me about elephants who've left here as well, and it's just that there's enough in life with the projects moving forward to get emotionally carried up, and we obviously have half an idea and hear gossip about elephants who've left us, but I totally agree with that policy. If we were worrying all the time about elephants that had left us, we'd be not able to concentrate on the work we have to do.
I try to keep a relationship with the mahout, because I respect him. He's been very good to the center, and I honestly don't think it's him who wants to leave. I think it's the other owners of the elephants pushing for, I don't know, maybe they have a more profitable camp in Lumpur or some shows, you know, across the border somewhere, that want to rent the elephant. I'm not sure. He hasn't said anything to us, but right now the elephant is still in the area. Yeah, he and the elephant haven't moved anywhere else for work. So yeah, it is a bit confusing, but we're not going to dwell on it too much, and we just learn from the mistake.
Yeah, very familiar story. It's one we've had as well.
Okay, the next question, are there other wild elephants in the vicinity? How was the interaction?
So there's no wild groups. they are quite far away on the other side of the park, but a wild male does come into this area. So they have had interactions with the wild male who came, flirted with the females for, a couple of weeks. But yeah, we only saw this interaction for an hour or two at a time. But yeah, there was standard sort of courting behavior from the wild male. And we think maybe there's a pregnancy from this interaction.
So another question from Valerie, just like great work to keep the government on board for the project. So the question is, do they own all elephants in the project?
They own all the elephants in the project, yes, all 4 of them.
Zach, do you want to ask your question? Okay, he's not listening to me. So Zach also typed the question on Facebook. Let me quickly. Sorry. So from Zach, contrary to Laos, Thailand has an abundance of captive elephants and little space to rewild them. Will it be doable to rewild the Thai elephants in Laos, or will outbreeding occur?
I would love this. Yeah, I think it would, and I think I can speak for Annabelle too. She would love some of your males. We have a problem here, and I won't get into it because Annabelle will talk about this maybe next month. But with there's not many viable breeding male elephants in Laos, so we would love if you could bring some of your bulls over here. Yeah, but this is a political thing that is above my pay grade, unfortunately.
Currently, no legal framework to allow it, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think so.
But it has been raised at certain levels, and for scientific reasons, under CITES, it possibly could happen. But again, there are moratoria and all sorts of other things, as you say. It's above our pay grade, but it's a question that we are asking in various places.
Yeah.
Yep.
So from Sanjita, it would be a real hard task if there are other resident elephants. The release should be done differently, taking that into the consideration.
So is the question, if there is no elephants there, would the release be done differently?
Yeah, because you mentioned that there is wild elephant around, right? Mm-hmm. So it that really affect, or it should done in different way?
I think I understand the question. Well, the elephants are very far away from each other. Is this what she's getting at? Would they become a conflict?
I think the question. Yep, I think the question would be if there were wild elephants present or more wild elephants present, would you have done it differently?
I mean, if there was already a lot of wild elephants and there was no real space for them, then you just wouldn't do it. You would do it in a different area. There is wild elephants here. There's a pretty small population for the amount of space, so that's why we felt confident that we were able to do this here, and we will take this as a trial. If everything goes well here, then like I say, we can take this protocol and maybe try it in areas where there are no elephants. But because of a lot of logistical reasons and political reasons too, this was the area we chose, and there is more than enough space for 4 more elephants.
Okay, so again, before I asked about the cost, the salary for the mahouts, but what is the annual cost to keep monitoring, for everything?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Celine. It doesn't cost much more than their salaries, to be honest, apart from some batteries for the GPS, some petrol for us to go down. But if there's 4 guys on, so it probably cost $1,000 a month to run this.
So you don't need any more donations?
Well, no. So don't be saying that, John. I mean, in the future, we'd like to put GPS collars on these elephants and stuff like this and make it more formal. But right now, we just work with what we have, and we don't have much money. So there's no point trying to do something out of our budget. This is what we have. And these mahouts, I wouldn't swap them for GPS collars. They're more than a GPS collar, because they not only can they tell you where the elephant is, they can give you advice. Oh, this area is not the best for them. They're pretty close to this camp. I think we should stay here and see which way they move. They know that elephants' behavior. They're the full package, and they keep me safe as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, human can help to observe for more and can give other suggestion. Talk about the area also, like what about the threats in Nampoy? Do they have like logging or poacher or any other people that would harm the elephant that you release back to the forest?
I mean, I guess probably in all over the world now, where you have elephants, there is at least a slight chance of poaching. There's not a high threat of poaching in this area, although there used to be in the past. And you'd be very, very brave to mess with the government elephants. This is where them being government elephants sort of is a benefit. Sneakily trying to poach a wild elephant is one thing, but taking an elephant off the government is, I guess, a direct sort of threat to a communist one-party state like Laos. This would be seen as a pretty big threat. But we are, like I say, we're trying to make this a safer area, not just for these released elephants, but for the whole park, with these 2 teams that we're funding at the moment, and hopefully a couple more teams in the future.
And the teams need donations as well. So the monitoring costs.
We desperately need money for that.
Having rangers in the field, as I well know, and a lot of people also well know, is not cheap. There we go. Having said you don't need donations, I will say you do need donations.
I don't need donations for the rangers. The mahouts have got for the release. The mahouts have got that covered. But give me money for the rangers, and I'll use it well. I promise.
Yeah, I think that's good that you hire people and let them have a job and have money. But also one suggestion that maybe it would be good to use like the video traps or camera traps to observe the elephant, like while you guys cannot go to the forest. That is the suggestion from Sanjita.
I did put a couple of camera traps in the forest and they all got stolen. So okay. I give up. Yeah, I put 3 in there and they all got stolen. Because they just a guy with looking to hunt a wild pig or something like this. If he sees it, he just takes it because he's like, oh, it's got my picture now. I have to take it. So yeah, I had a couple of them took away, so we scrapped that.
Yeah, there are ways around that, but yes, whether it's worth the effort or not, I don't know.
Okay. How do you decide to ratio of the sex of release, and is the male baby elephant is born in captivity rescued?
Sorry, can you repeat
so
that?
The first one is how do you decide to ratio the sex of the elephant that you released back to the forest?
How do we decide the sex of the elephants that we release into the forest?
Yeah, how many males to how many females?
Oh, well, this again, the elephants chose this. They formed the group, through Annabelle's protocols and stuff like this. They formed the bond around this juvenile male. I guess we still would have gone ahead with this project if the juvenile male was a female and it was just a group of females. I think we would have still gone ahead with it. But yeah, it definitely wasn't me. Maybe Annabelle had more to do with choosing the group. Well, for me, the elephants chose this group themselves.
So that is mean like in the elephant group, it makes like for both male and female, right?
Yes. So 3 adult females and 1 juvenile male is the group.
So a fairly natural herd, then I would get a small natural herd, but it's as they would be in the wild. And the other elephant that left was female or male?
Female too. Yeah. All between 25 and 40 years old.
Okay. I don't have other questions from Facebook.
Okay, Annabelle, do you want to elaborate on the last bit, how the group was chosen, or is that going to be your talk in a couple of months or a month's time?
I can. Well, we can talk a little about this. Is the problem. Actually, in this case, the would start to observe that there were a connection between two of the females and the male, and then together Mahut's suggestions of what elephants like each other, for spectacle encounters in the bath or in the forest. Then we use these elephants that they show to like each other or to affinity with each other, and we start to do these steps in socializing. So we put them together, and they were all very to each other from the beginning. So we just have an ethogram, and then we just collect affiliative behavior versus aggression, stereotypic behaviors, and everything was very well in the beginning. So Mike say the elephant kind of choose this from the beginning, and Mahouts, they were very important as well, having an eye in that case. They were difficult elephants to socialize. They were all very social from the beginning. So it's actually very, very smooth from the beginning. We didn't have to do much work around them. They by themselves. Yeah.
Okay, and how big was the group you started, or how many candidates for a release did you start out with to end up with these 5 that then went down to 4? Well, maybe you didn't hear. Annabelle? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, we have a bit of trouble with microphone. Okay, but I think Annabelle has agreed to give a talk in a month or so's time. So we'll ask her to talk a lot about how they did the socialization work first, how they got them together, and how they built the group then. Because I've seen their socialization area, and it is fascinating how that was done. So maybe we'll save that for a talk in future. And agreeing, as I say, Anna.
Yeah. I have another 2 cool question from Facebook, and Michael, please unmute yourself later.
Sorry, I lost my connection there.
Okay. So the next question from Kun Pichet. So he worked with human-elephant conflict in Thailand. The question is it is possible that released elephants turn to the crop riders, or have you had any plans to prevent human-elephant conflict?
So I guess for us, in the 19 months we've released them, they haven't went to any crops. And this is what this first couple of years is really all about. If we notice any patterns of, if they start, in the next couple of months, if they start to constantly go to a rice field, then we have to pull the project. This is why we call this now a soft release. It's if nothing goes wrong over the next, the first 2 years, maybe a year or 2 after that, then okay, yeah, cool, we can look at this, calling this a proper release. But for now, we are still in this trial period, at least in our minds, that if they do pick up patterns like this, unfortunately, we have to pull the project and go back to the drawing board.
Okay, good. And I guess this is the last one. Back to the male elephant again. Is the juvenile male is born in captivity or rescued from the wild?
He was born in captivity, but his father is wild. So his mother was chained up in the forest and got a visit from one wild male, and so he's half and half.
So half.
But the mother would have been roughly the same as well. So genetically still the same, I would guess.
Aye, yeah. Good point.
Right. Well, if there are no more questions, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for coming in. Somehow it seems lighter where you are than it is here. It's getting dark here. You said I don't know quite how much further east you are than we are, but never mind. Or whether what you are. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. Has been a fantastic talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
A fantastic talk, a fantastic project, and one that I promise to come and actually visit you in the field at some point as soon as the borders are open as well, because I know
you're always welcome, John. You know that.
Was supposed to come last year and didn't manage it, and I'll get back to ECC sometime. If you are in Southeast Asia anywhere, particularly if you're in Laos at the moment, but if you're in Southeast Asia when the borders open up, or if you're planning to come here, do go and visit the headquarters at ECC, because it's a great place to go and see elephants. And not every elephant was in the wild. There are a lot of elephants, or several elephants, still there on that concession, very beautifully looked after, and also it's a great place to be. There's a special spirit about the place, so I'd highly recommend everyone go and visit. And yes, of course, if you have some spare cash and you would like to fund a ranger team or something like that, I was joking, do have a look at the ECC website and have a look at chances to donate, because this is a groundbreaking project and something that we can learn a lot from, whether it continues to go on as successfully as it has been, or even if there are even if it doesn't, if unfortunately something does go awry, the way it's being monitored, the way it's being followed up is something that I've never seen anywhere else, and that means that there will be a lot of papers in it, but also a lot of things to learn, either the best practice for moving forward, or things that may have not be repeated in the future. So well worth it, and please, everybody, as I say, go and visit ECC if you can, because it's fantastic. For now, I think all that remains for me to do is to say thank you to Anantara. Here I am up in the bar again, as usual, where I always hang out, and Anantara Golden Triangle. If you are in Thailand and can't get to ECC and would like to come and see our elephants, we've learned some things from them, so we've stolen a few ideas. We haven't released any yet. Well, we actually gave an elephant to the Elephant Reintroduction Foundation in Thailand, who is currently living wild in a Thai forest. So I guess we could say that we did it first. We didn't do anything like the level of work these guys have done. If you'd like to come and see elephants and you're in Thailand, please do come and join us at the Anantara Golden Triangle and see our work. Yeah, that's about it. Until next time. I think, well, I've gone completely blank as to who we have next week, but we do have another elephant professional lecture. Ingrid, we're staying in Laos next week. Thank you very much. At least someone knows. We're staying in Laos next week. We have Ingrid Suter from Asian Captive Elephant Standards, who did her PhD on elephants in tourism in Laos some years ago, and we'll be discussing that and tourism and standards in tourism camps and all sorts of other things as well. So yes, join us that'll be a morning's time. That'll be a 9 a.m. time, because she's dialing in from Australia, and we will have a great talk then. And here come the dancers. It's about to get noisy, so I have to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining in and dialing in from the jungle. I am actually jealous. I do wish I was there. I also wish I was at ECC. Bye, Annabelle. And we will see you all later. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.